Hey everybody, we're back in the Shanty. So we're going to talk about something a little different today. And I'm not sure. I haven't done this yet. This topic, and by the way, the topic is stress and anxiety in your employees. But I thought I'd done it because I've started it like 6 times and backed off because I wasn't sure how to do it, and I didn't want to sound too lecture-y and stuff like that. But I'm going to do it now anyway. And by the time I get done with this, when my wife sees it, I am in big trouble because she is going to go. I'm going to hear the physician heal thyself thing. I'll never live it down in my house. Let's just put it that way. So why are we talking about stress and employment? Well, we're talking about stress and employment today because I happened to see an interview today from a young man named Lando Norris. I'm a big Formula One fan, so I was watching an interview that Lando Norris did. For those of you that don't know, Lando Norris is a young Formula One driver. He drives for McLaren. The best Formula One driver in the circuit right now, arguably, well, not really even arguably, is a 7-time world champion, is a guy named Lewis Hamilton, who some of you might know even if you don't follow F1, because he has sort of transcended the sport. And then there's a bunch of young, really talented drivers, guys like Max Verstappen, who's fighting for the championship this year, and George Russell, and this kid Lando Norris, who is really, really good. These kids are all in there, and I say kids, I mean Hamilton's in his 30s, but these kids, these young kids, are in their 20s. Some of them in their very, very early 20s. What struck me about the interview that Lando Norris gave was he gave an interview talking about the stress and the anxiety he felt when he was a rookie a couple of years ago, driving in Formula One, and the constant pressure he felt that if he didn't perform, he was going to lose his job. He finally reached the pinnacle of the sport. F1 is the pinnacle of motorsports. It's where everybody wants to, well, maybe they don't, but you would think it's where everybody wants to be. It's the major leagues. It's it. If you're a race car driver, and this kid had reached it at 19 years old, and now, instead of enjoying it, he's worried that every time he makes a mistake, he's going to lose his job. He's going to get fired. He's not going to be an F1 anymore. And if he can't be an F1, what is he going to do? Because this is his dream. So that anxiety ate away at him, and he talked about it today, and he talked about how he felt about those issues. And he did that, I'm sure, to raise awareness of the issues of anxiety and mental health in the workplace. That's his workplace. That Formula One car is his workplace. And he's not the only one that's done this. You guys know that. I mean, look at Michael Phelps, who's now doing, and bravo to him, doing television commercials for online therapy that you can get. And he's spoken widely about the anxiety issues that he had when he was a swimmer. By the way, best male swimmer ever, period, end of sentence. And then there's Simone Biles, who just, in the Olympics, the best female gymnast ever, who got what she called the twisties and couldn't perform. Kevin Love, an NBA basketball player, and his struggles with anxiety and depression. And look at Naomi Osaka, a very, very talented young tennis player. And these are all young people who are feeling the pressure of their jobs. Now, these might be jobs that we all wish we could have, and we're looking at them going, come on, they got the greatest life ever. And they do, but they're humans, and they've got these issues, these mental health issues that they're dealing with. And when you lay COVID on top of that, you've just exponentially expanded the stress. SHRM just did a survey not too long ago. And more than 40% of the people that answered the SHRM survey about stress in the workplace said that they were feeling either hopeless, burned out, or exhausted. So when we're in, 20 some months into COVID now, first we're not working, then we are working. First we're not going into the office, then we are going into the office. I'm stressed because I can't go into the office and see my friends, or if I can't go to the office, is my company going to go out of business? Am I going to lose my job? I'm not a rich young athlete, and if I lose my job, I don't have $1 million tucked away in the bank. Am I going to be able to pay the rent and buy food and support my family? Well, now I have to go back into the office because we've got some employers pushing people. We need them back, we need them back, we need them back. And there's fear among your employees about that. They don't want to go back. Even if they're vaccinated, they're afraid because we've got these new variants now. And it's all hitting us. And I don't want to go back. I don't want to be subjected to that. There's anxiety associated with that. Whatever side of the spectrum you're on here, there's mounting and increasing anxiety associated with COVID that's affecting your employees. So how do we deal with these mental health issues? Now we're going to take a minute here, just a minute. And we're going to talk about the fact that you have an obligation as an employer under the law, depending on how big you are, which law might be more than one, to accommodate, provide leaves for these mental health issues as they arise with your employees. So when an employee comes to you and says, I'm super stressed out and I need time off, I don't want you to ignore that. I don't want you to blow it off. We're all stressed out. Don't worry about it. Because you might have some obligations under the law. We're going to talk about two laws primarily. And like I said, we're only going to do it for a minute. The first of which is the FMLA. If you've got more than 50 employees and an employee comes to you and says, I need time off because I'm stressed out and I can't take this anymore, and you ignore that, and the employee otherwise meets the definition of a serious health condition, you have an obligation to provide that employee with leave. Well, what's the definition of a serious health condition? We all know what this is by now. There's a bunch of definitions. Conditions involving inpatient care. If an employee goes to the hospital, they get time off for that, right? And they stay overnight, including any follow-up treatment and recovery. If they have to go back if they get admitted to the hospital for a few days and then they have to go back for treatment. A condition of incapacity for 3 or more consecutive days, not work days either, by the way, calendar days, and continuing treatment. And there's case law out there that says a prescription for anti-anxiety medication is continuing treatment under the FMLA. Chronic, long-term, or permanent conditions, which stress can often be, that requires periodic treatment. I need Friday afternoons off for therapy. Maybe. So the FMLA is going to cover this. So if an employee comes to you and says, I need time off because of my stress, you should be thinking FMLA. And then there's, of course, the ADA. We need to provide reasonable accommodations to individuals with disability to allow them to help them do their job. Is mental health a disability under the ADA? It certainly can be. It's in the definition. It's a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. So if an employee comes to you and says, look, I'm suffering from a lot of stress and I need an extra 10 minutes a day just to sit in a quiet room and decompress or meditate or whatever, don't blow that off. Now, they've got to provide you with a doctor's note and all that stuff that you want them to do, but don't blow it off. You've got an obligation under the law potentially to accommodate that disability if in fact it is a disability. And those of you that have dealt with the ADA over the years know that mental health issues are very difficult to deal with under the ADA. We've got to be sure we know what we're doing. But you've got an obligation to deal with those things, okay? So that's the law. But I want to talk about some other things, some little things you can do. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm an old, crotchety labor lawyer. And when I was a kid and I was depressed or I was having a bad day, my grandma used to say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which was, I loved my grandmother. She was a great woman. Might be the worst advice I've ever heard in my life when we're talking about mental health issues. You can't just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You've all seen the ads on TV. That was very unhelpful. Oh, just go shopping. That's very unhelpful. I don't want you to be very unhelpful. So there's some things I want you to think about you can do. Now, where am I getting these from? Because I just told you I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm getting them from the CDC. You can like the CDC or not like the CDC. That's entirely up to you, but that's where I'm going to get these things. And I want to point out to you before we get started some of the things that the CDC says stress can cause, because you're probably seeing this in some of your employees. Feelings of fear, anger, sadness, worry, or frustration. Changes in appetite, energy, desire, and attention. Difficulty concentrating and making decisions. Difficulty sleeping or nightmares. Physical reactions such as headaches, body pains, stomach problems, and skin rashes. Worsening of chronic mental health problems. Okay? And increased use of tobacco, alcohol, and other substances. All right? Those are things the CDC says these additional stressors can cause in your employees. So what do you do? There's some simple things that you can think about doing. The first thing I want you to do, if you've got an EAP, and this doesn't come from the CDC, this comes from me, call your EAP, see what services they offer. Make sure you've got a full understanding of what services your EAP offers to your employees, and then advertise them to your employees. Don't let people forget. As we're moving toward getting people back into the office, there is going to be stress associated with that. And by the way, if you're leaving people out of the office and telling them not to come back, there's going to be stress associated with that. Again, there's stress on both sides of the spectrum here. The solution, it's not a solution, the tool you have to deal with those stressors for your employees is your EAP. So call them, see what they offer, make sure they're available. Maybe have somebody come in and do a little lunch and learn or something about what services are available, something like that. If we talk about now what the CDC recommends, the CDC recommends that the ways to cope with stress are in the following. And they said the first one is take a break from watching the news about the pandemic. Now you can't. I mean, we got people, they're doing this all day, right? They're on these things. This is my phone. They're on these things, checking things out and see what's going on Twitter and getting all stressed out and reading the news. And first there's this and then there's that. And you don't know what to believe and you can't go anywhere. You can't prevent that. I'll tell you what you can do. You got a TV in your lobby or your break room that's got Fox News or CNN on it, depending on which way you lean. Turn Fox News and CNN off. Put ESPN on, or my voice favorite channel, the home shop, no, not shopping, the home, whatever that home improvement network thingy dealy is. They're always talk about creating stress. Now all the home improvement projects we're now doing in the house because we saw them on TV. Put something like that on. Put the Disney Channel on, for goodness sakes. Put something else on besides the news. Your employees get enough of that. They don't need to see it when they go in the break room. The CDC also says people should take care of their body. Help them do that. Build some time in the day for them to get away. All right? Make sure that your employees are taking, you probably give employees a 10, 15-minute break in the morning, 10, 15-minute break in the afternoon, and a lunch period, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Are your employees taking those breaks? If they work on a production line, they probably are because you shut the line down or somebody comes in, substitutes them. But what about the people sitting in the office? Are they taking those breaks? Are they taking a chance to get away and unwind? Get them to do that. Make sure they know it's okay. Make sure they know that you want them to do that those things are there for a reason, for the employee to unwind, to take a deep breath. The weather's still nice. Go out and take a walk. Get away. Get some time to unwind. And the last thing I want you to do is talk about these issues. Talk about them with your employees. Make sure they understand that you understand and that you're there for them. Now, do you have to go into the ADA and the FMLA every time somebody comes into your office and says, I'm stressed? No, you don't. But you can be there for them. And when they do raise the issue of, I need time off or something like that, know what you have to do. These are simple things you can do. And I don't know if I sounded lectury or not. And if I did, I apologize. But what I'm hearing a lot of now from people is, hey, I can't find enough people. People are quitting. People won't stay. This might be one simple way to get some of them, not all of them, but some of them, maybe to stick around a little longer. So I'm going to go take my own advice and take a little break. For me, it's sitting on my deck, smoking a cigar. And I'm going to do that. Probably not good for my lungs, but it's good for my mental health. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.